back, fellow Blues fans, to the Free Blue Boys podcast. Thank you for joining us again. And thank you to everybody who has liked, subscribed, interacted with us in the comments section, which we've received a significant amount of comments following our post-match reaction to the Leicester City game on Friday night. Thank you everybody who has. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so you never miss a new upload. Remember to interact with us on our social media platforms, links to which are on the screen for you now in the description below. Gentlemen, how are we?
Oh, pretty good, yeah. It's been a slightly tumultuous period, hasn't it? With the two games that we are going to discuss. But exciting at the minute, recording this on Monday evening. Transfer window is nearly over. It's a little bit sweaty palms, isn't it, now? Because
it is a little bit, isn't it?
We don't know exactly what movements are going to be in and around the club just yet. But by the time you guys are watching this, you'll probably know. So
I dare say we'll know more by that point, won't we, really? Yeah. We'll know who's gone where, and there's already been a lot of talk, hasn't there? And that's something that we're looking forward to as well. And I know Blues fans are keeping a close eye on as well. I know there's been a talk of a couple of players in particular, but transfer window has a habit of opening up surprises, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, yeah. Well, especially after last summer, with that kind of, the ultimate reveal of Stano with, Wags there as well.
Again? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but you never know, do you?
You never do.
I think it's going to be more prosaic. I think it's going to be more kind of, we've got people in, they're not mega names, but they're good enough to improve the level of the squad. I guess more importantly, to be able to come in to the first 11 and be as good as the people that they're picking up from if they're coming as subs or whatever. But I guess we'll see what we'll see, won't we, when we get there?
Needed, isn't it, from the two games that we are going to talk about, isn't it?
Absolutely. Of course, from the past Tuesday, the League Cup fixture round 2 against Port Vales at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, and then, of course, on the Friday evening, the EFL Championship away fixture at Kimbow Stadium to Leicester City. I think, really, to be fair, the Port Vales fixture can be best summed well as...
What in the blue fuck was that?
I think that's probably the best way to sum it up, really, isn't there? There isn't any other way of looking at it.
That's exactly what we thought, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That's exactly how we felt coming out, didn't we?
Particularly for that one. Obviously, we've made the 10 changes, and, you've got to expect some, less fluidity there in the side from the normal 11. But nonetheless, it was just a very poor performance and easily the worst up to that point, because we haven't talked about the Friday game yet, under Chris Davis, under the the season odd that he's been here, hasn't it?
I think so. And I think the thing that's common about both is... the kind of the laboured way that we seem to kind of, it was quicker against Leicester, but it was terrible against Port Vales in terms of the amount of touches we were taking in our own half to try and get the ball forward. So I guess to pose this in a different way now, rather than kind of look at the matches individually, is to broaden what we're looking at here and say, have Blues become a bit of a one-trick pony? Have we ended up with following plan A too much without a plan B? That's the question I think I'd throw open to you two, in fact for all of us at this point. What do you think on that? Is that a fair assessment, or is it too soon to be saying that?
I think so, potentially. Maybe a little bit too soon, rather than something that needs to be seriously considered at this point. Having viewed a lot of sort of post-match reaction from fellow Blues fan-made podcasts, sort of in general as well, from neutrals as well, I think we need to be careful of pushing the panic button too early. I think we alluded to this as well as a post-match reaction for the Leicester City game, as we'll talk about shortly as well. And I think looking at Chris Davis' post-match interview following the Port Vales game, I think he was posed a question by one of the interviewers on Blues TV. Is it too easy to hide behind the fact that you made 10 changes? And he didn't felt it was. I think he accepted that a change of personnel was going to change potentially the way the game would have gone. And I think it probably did. In all honesty, I think you've got a group of players that haven't really played 90 minutes together, and you're expecting them to find that rhythm, as Chris Davis alluded to, from the get-go, and it's not really something you're going to see. You need to expect that maybe coming off the bench and coming into with the first-team players, but then you're surrounded by 9 other players who are always playing together week in, week out. You didn't see that with the 11 that were on the pitch that Tuesday evening.
I think it's about adaptability, isn't it, as a manager, and I think my opinion is the best managers have the best adaptability. I think they have that, that sort of down to earth sort of persona for the most part. Obviously, Chris Davis does have experience being assistant coaches at very good standard clubs, but it really is a test of how pragmatic is he in the situations where our plan A isn't going to plan. Do we have the players off the bench? Do we have that squad depth to come on, change the game and hurt teams in other ways and protect our back line as well? I think that he does have that ability. And I think it was his post-match interview after the Leicester game, in particular, where he obviously thought that we played well for the most part, and that we just didn't find that final bit of quality in the final third. I agree to some part, but not entirely, because I think after I watched it, I thought, I don't really know what game you were watching. Like, some of the passes were off. Nobody played really very well at all. We didn't look like our normal selves. We looked a little bit nervous in a way. But I think that ability and that quality is there. But time will tell for that, obviously. And if we can strengthen the squad in the way that we would like to, obviously ours is really just opinion. We got to trust Chris Davis to do the job. But I think that ability is there.
Yeah, I think maybe it's worth perhaps trying to understand this and comment on it in the context, maybe in a more technical context, about the nuts and bolts of actually how we play. The way Chris Davis has set us up last season and this season is to be a high-risk team when we're out of possession, because we do that press, and we push up as a team so that our defenders are on the halfway line and sometimes perhaps even in the opponent's half. But we're a very low-risk team when we're in possession. We keep the ball, and to the point of kind of overdoing it, because there's always one too many passes, and people often complain about the fact that somebody's breaking with the ball and then it gets turned back.
Yeah.
But I think that's all part of his of the way that he operates. The kind of raise and detre for his football, as it were. And he's frustrating to that degree, but he's trying to encourage the players to kind of not to take too many risks. Now, I think people perhaps should bear that in mind. This is part of his DNA. This is the way he wants to play football. He's not on his own. He's probably come from some of the Brendan Rodgers school of doing it the same way.
It's the way the game is now, though, isn't it? We see it across all the leagues.
We see it quite across a few leagues and different managers, don't we?
Yeah.
And in one of the comments section, the Leicester City post-match reaction as well, as we'll get to shortly, one of the Leicester City fans said that the game there reminded him of the time under Brendan Rodgers with Chris Davis as assistant manager. A lot of side-to-side movement, a lot of possession-based, not a lot of penetration, not a lot of shots on goal. And we did see that, didn't we, in the Port Vale match? I mean, credit where credit's due to Darren Moore and Port Vale. They executed their game plan really well.
Yeah.
They were a threat when they scored. We kind of felt it was coming at the time that they did score, just before the half-time mark. But credit where credit's due to them. They saw it out, and the best of luck to them against Arsenal. I mean, funny enough, just touching on the draw as well, I think you talked about as well, Joe, because how the draw numbers would have worked out. Our number would have been different to Port Vale's. We would have actually drawn Aston Villa at home. Yeah,
so originally when the ball numbers were drawn, and I can't remember who they got, but we basically would have been number 5. And initially everyone thought, we've got, I think it was Arsenal at home, and everyone was like, fuck, can't believe that. And then it was, no, we would have got Newcastle away. And then in actual fact, when a bit of time had passed, I think we would have drawn Villa at home.
It just makes it all the more painful, doesn't it?
It's typical though, isn't it?
What a night that would have been.
If we'd got through, we would have got fucking Blackburn at home. So
probably.
Yeah, he's written somewhere in what's his name, isn't it? In the Bible, in the Bible somewhere that we have to go and play Blackburn somewhere. It's either in the league or in the cup, and it's first game in the FA Cup third round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's typical.
It's got to happen, hasn't it?
Do you think that just on the back of what Dan was saying there, do you think that because when we played Leicester, contrary to maybe what some fans might think, I didn't think they were that good, to be honest, at all. Particularly in that first half, they looked really poor in possession and out. And that was the kind of game in that first half where other teams in this league, and I'd said this in the post-match reaction, like Middlesbrough and Albion and Southampton, they're going to really hurt teams like that if they play like that.
Yeah.
And we didn't have enough, and I think what won them the game in the end is that they had players come on that had that creativity and a bit of that quality in the right areas to get them over the line. Obviously, the first goal was just a mistake on our part, and we have to do better. And the league is fine margins, and if you make mistakes like that, you get punished. But are we missing that bit of creativity? Is that something that we've got to look to bring in, in the next few hours?
The next hour,
yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Quite literally the next few hours. And I think really that leans into the game against Leicester City, doesn't it, this past Friday night at the King Power Stadium. I think we were hoping that maybe as a positive, and I think we'd said it did when we coming out of St Andrews at Knighthead Park following the Port Vale game, that we hoped that it would maybe galvanise the players, because we were all saying to her, Davis is going to rip the shreds, he's going to absolutely fucking bollock him off the back of this game. And that's what we kind of hoped would have happened, but it kind of didn't. We just saw, again, sort of side-to-side, possession-based football. Possession-based anyway, it's Chris Davis, we already know that. But it just didn't offer any penetration, little less urgency.
I think that's what Joe's asking, isn't it, about the creativity?
No creativity, Joe says.
I think the truth is that you need to move the ball quicker. And to move the ball quicker, you need people who are more kind of suited and have got better technical abilities to do that. People who can kind of react more quickly when they've got the ball in possession.
It's clever movement off the ball as well, though. That's what enables you to move up the pitch. Whoever has the ball can move it into the positions where players obviously move, and you need those players, particularly in the areas that obviously we're looking to be strengthened, like in the 10.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we lacked that, didn't we?
I think personally that we've got enough people who can play in the 10, but it's getting the right person to play there.
Yeah.
So the Duck to me is the one, because from the very few things that I've seen from him, he's got this awareness.
I would agree with that.
And he's got this ability to make it one touch. He turns things around the corner. He whisks the ball out to the wing. You need that speed of thought. You know, as somebody once said in a famous film, I think.
It's very true. I don't think anybody's going to get. I'd be so surprised if somebody got that reference. But
yeah, if you do, comment on it, please. Yeah, we'll be impressed. But yeah, I think you need somebody who's going to be able to, think that quickly. The other thing I would say about the performance, and this goes back into the plan A, plan B thing, is, again, reiterate how important Jay Stansfield is in this.
How's it going, fellow Blues fans? Hope you're enjoying the channel so far and liking today's video. I wanted to take a minute of your time to talk about our sponsor, Bangla Lounge Indian Cuisine. For these three blue boys, Bangla Lounge has been the go-to choice to enjoy the very finest in Indian cuisine for over a decade now. Made with the freshest ingredients using authentic recipes, Bangla Lounge produces some of the best Indian cuisine that I've ever tasted. And if you enjoy takeaway at the end of the week, orders for collection and delivery with 15% discount, ordering direct through the website. If you enjoy a sit-down meal, you can enjoy this for a 2-for-1 offer, running up for Sunday to Thursday every week on main courses. Or if you're celebrating a special occasion, such as a birthday, Bangla Lounge offers a buffet restaurant every Sunday, running from 5:30pm to 10pm. So if you like a tasty curry or a sizzling tandoori, get yourself down to Bangla Lounge Halesowen. Links in the description below of our video. And if you'd like to fine dine after a win in the B9. Thanks very much. Now back to the podcast.
Right, because the press needs to be orchestrated. It isn't about one person, and it isn't about just a load of people doing a load of things. Presses operate on triggers, right? That you've got to know when the trigger's coming. So, as somebody lost the ball, have they turned their back to you and they're facing their own goal? Mm-hmm. Has it gone out to a wide area to a weak defender? Those are press triggers, right? And you need somebody who's going to direct that, because it's all about doing it at the right time and doing it collectively. Yeah. Now, people couldn't understand, and I didn't at the start, we didn't at the start, why Lewis Kumas was playing in the 10 and while Willem was out wide. And naturally, you'd expect them to be swapped over. Yeah. But I think the exact reason that he played in the 10 is because he wanted to do what Stano did. Chris Davis wanted him to do that.
You know, I actually noticed as well, and maybe there's nothing on this, but I don't know if you saw it, Dan, just before kick-off. Chris Davis was having a word with Kumas on the sideline just before. I saw that. And it, in a weird way, not to say like in hindsight because we lost, but like it kind of made me feel a bit like, I'm not very confident about that just now. Like if you're having to have instructions, or like I say, it might have been something trivial right before you go on, it's like, we never saw, Stansfield have received instructions or anybody else. And, look, Lewis Kumas had to do the best he could, but I would agree that, I think if anything, I would have had Doyle in the 10 for that game. Kumas out wide to give us a bit of energy and a bit of pace.
Yeah, and I think, you're right. I think that Tommy Doyle could have done that job, you know. I mean, if he runs out of, steam after 60 minutes, that's fine. You just bring somebody else on to do it. Maybe Keshi could have done it. But it's about the intelligence. It's about that thing of saying, right, what's the right time to do? Because you're going to run around like headless chickens and you're chasing everything. You'll be dead by half time. Yeah. You've got to pick your moments, and the moments are when those triggers happen, and you've got to be watching all the time. You've got to be aware of what's going on in front of you with those defenders, and also behind you as to where the midfield players are. They're the most important defenders in our team, that front three. Front four, actually.
Yeah, well, exactly that.
Yeah. They are. But if it goes wrong, as occasionally, well, I think it did in both those games, teams get away from us.
Where do you think the holes are to be filled based on that? Do you think that it's in that 10? Do you think that, like Dad says, we got enough in there? Or
I think potentially we've got enough in the 10, and like Dad said, I think he's right in what he says, in as much as it depends who you've got there. The Duck can do a job, Tommy Doyle can do a job, Pak Sun Ho can do a job potentially, although he's maybe a little bit different, more of a playmaker, further from the back, collecting from Moata maybe. So maybe that's maybe not his role, but he can do it, so I think he can. I think maybe a little bit, and Blues fans may have seen this already in the transfer news, I think we need to move away from recruiting another winger. I think we just need somebody else maybe just behind the 10 maybe, or maybe somebody else that's on the 10 that offers more creativity, because I think the way we move the ball forward, and even Leicester City fans alluded to this in our post-match reaction of the comments section, that our build-up play isn't bad. It's when we get to that final third where we drop
we
back,
move back or
we move back or
sideways,
sideways, we don't move forwards, we don't even take a shot on goal. There was one time that Iwata could have taken a shot on goal. I think Kyogo had an opportunity at one time as well. And the only rememberable shot on target, even if you can call it rememberable, was the shot from Ethan Laird, second half. That was blocked by their goalkeeper. Yeah. And it's a matter of being clinical, but you've got to be able to get that penetration in the final third to even get to the point where you have the opportunity to be clinical in front of goal. I think we've got people who can finish. Stano, Kyogo, Paik obviously has registered a goal this season as well. I know he's not sort of a natural finisher. But you've also Keshi Anderson as well, Damari Gray as well, definitely carries a few goals in him as well. I think all the pieces are there. We just need to put them together in the right order. And I think it's about how we do that. Do we change the system slightly and our approach? Like you've alluded to, Dad, are we potentially a one-trick pony in this situation with the style that we play? Or do we change the personnel and keep the system the same?
Yeah. This is like the little trigger point for it. And I think that we're all in agreement there's no need for panic stations at this point. Naturally, you lose 2 in a row and you don't score any goals in games where you should probably be getting a point and getting through to the next round. Obviously, people are going to be like, what the fuck are we doing? I think some of it is, we talked a little bit about this in the post-match, and just to touch on it here is, there's also this like background noise that we're getting, isn't there? The owners, the documentary, the expectations, the success of last season and the record-breaking season. Yeah. They must feel that come through a little bit through the pause. And are we part of that sort of it's hard not to get excited about what's going on, but maybe the last 2 games have kind of put a bat on the ground a bit and say, this is a fucking tough league to get out of.
I think we've jumped on the bandwagon that they've set up, and we're kind of, we're flying on it, on the back of last season, really, about the success there. But I did an interesting bit of stat work, maybe a bit nerdy earlier on, and I looked at how many teams had done double promotions from League One to the Premierships since 1999. I was going to do it from the start of the century, but it happened to be one in 99. And out of 81 teams in total, so 3 every season for 27 seasons, that could have gone up, only 5 have gone up, one promotion after the other. That's 6%.
Yeah.
You've got a 94% chance of not doing it.
Yeah.
So this is the narrative that we're up against. We've set ourselves to try and recreate Ipswich and Southampton and Man City and all the others that did it. But it's not easy.
No.
Your chances of failure are high.
You can increase those chances of success, obviously, and again, though, this is part of the hysteria that's going on, about we've got all this money, the ownership, the changes in the ground, the sports quarter, the documentary, the this, the that, but like you say, obviously those stats don't lie, and there's various factors that can affect that, but again, that pressure that we put on ourselves, is it best to, I think we touched on this before, is it best to look at ourselves and say, we're not expected to do anything this season, let's just fucking give it a go? Yeah. Is that the better mentality to have?
I personally, we're going to go on. We're going to do a separate pod, aren't we, on kind of where we think Blues are going to finish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Revised, as we said we would after the transfer window closed. When I originally said where we'd finish, I said 12th. I can see some reason to say we should be higher, but I don't feel at the moment as though it would be sufficiently higher to get into the playoffs. I think there's much more quality around than perhaps some of us have kind of given credit for. So, I don't know. Things will, how things change quickly, don't they? But I don't think... I think we perhaps just should be a little bit more aware of kind of, how the direction we're going in at the minute and things that could influence it that we don't even know about yet.
Yeah.
So, it'll unfold in the, in time. But, but let's be sensible. Let's not panic. No. As you said earlier, let's not get impatient. But let's be aware of the way that we could potentially set ourselves up if we're not careful.
Yeah, no need to panic as they get down. I think we just see how things go, and obviously on the back of what's going to close in the next hour or less, and obviously we've got a little bit of time till the next championship fixture, haven't we? So
yeah, we've got a couple of weeks, haven't we? First international break of the season, and very much so I agree with you both, and I think probably the majority of Blues fans would, and certainly I was watching a phone in on the Boy in Blues podcast. How you doing, Jay, big man? And they were talking on there, a few of the people who were phoning in there, fellow Blues fans, saying it's way too early to be pushing the panic button now.
Yeah.
And I do agree with their sentiment. I think it is. I think we just need to calm down, see what happens in terms of the personnel that we bring in, how that changes our approach. Certainly not in terms of the personnel, but potentially in terms of the system that we play. I don't expect the latter to change, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. We could see a new effect of someone in the 10 perhaps, and somebody playing behind them with maybe a bit more of a playmaker, bringing the creativity up, bringing the ball forward more in an aggressive manner, getting some shots on goal. So I think it's way too early for that. But gentlemen, thank you very much for your contribution again. Much appreciated.
Pleasure. Good stuff.
Absolutely. And fellow listeners and subscribers, please make sure you tune back into the Free Blue Boys podcast as we upload another 2 episodes following this one before we return from the international break. We're away at Stoke City in the EFL Championship on Saturday the 13th of September. Some of our content will be the first for this Free Blue Boys channel, and the other is sure to stir controversy in and amongst the supporters of other teams in the Championship. Until then, stay true to the Royal Blue. Keep right on.
Keep right on.